Is underlining really useful? Will I learn better and faster if I underline my notes, or is it a waste of time? What does science say about it? In today's video, I'm going to answer these questions, tell you what you can do to really get the most out of underlining, and tell you the top 3 mistakes students make when underlining and how you can avoid them. Well, let's get started. Without a doubt, underlining is one of the most popular techniques among students. All of us at some point in our lives have underlined lines and lines of text in our books or notes while studying, thinking that it would be useful and good for our learning. But is it really good for our learning? Have you ever wondered if it is really useful? Actually, numerous studies and researches about it ended up concluding that the underlining technique is not the most effective when it comes to studying. In their experiments, students who underlined their texts did not obtain better results than those who did not underline their texts or those who were given previously underlined texts. If instead of underlining, you surround the text with a line or draw little flowers around it, it would have the same effect. The result on learning would be exactly the same. After all, simply marking information with a color is not going to make it more memorable, and in most cases, for many learners, it is a waste of time. Unless it's done well. And this depends on something, which we will now see. So what's the point of underlining, and is there any benefit to it? Yes, underlining can be useful. But its usefulness is not to learn more, nor to memorize faster. At least, not directly. If you want underlining to bring benefits to your study, you have to know that it is a tool whose purposes are organize or structure, to select, to highlight. In other words, it will allow you to identify the structure of the information at a glance. It will allow you to separate and differentiate the relevant and useful information from that which is not. And it will allow you to highlight this data over the rest. So that, you will not stop again with those that you did not underline. But to perform these functions correctly, you have to do it right, and that implies a very important detail. And that is, selecting the right information. After all, it is you who decides which parts of the text to underline and which not to underline. And what you have underlined is what you will continue to study from now on. If you choose the wrong information to focus on, your results will be poor. Knowing this, let's talk now about the 3 mistakes that students most often make when underlining and that make it useless for them. It is possible that you have made some of them, and these are the 3 mistakes that, from now on, you will not make. The first one. Underline at the beginning. Underlining should never be the first thing you do. Many students, when they start studying a subject, what they do is directly sit down, start reading and underline as they read. This is a serious mistake. Because that student does not yet have a broad enough view of the subject to start marking the information that she considers important. You must first make an approach to the subject. A skim reading, without stopping too much, but that allows you to get a general idea of the information and how it is structured. Then you can start underlining, but never before. The second mistake is another classic. Underline everything. If you are one of those people who end up marking practically every line on the page, it means that you are not able to discern the relevant information from that which is not. You are probably one of those students who think everything is important. So, stop doing it. Because it serves no purpose. Remember that the purpose of underlining is to discriminate. To select information so that it stands out from other information. If you underline absolutely everything, nothing stands out. Or worse, it highlights only the little irrelevant information that you didn't mark and that you don't need to remember. This being the case, it is totally counterproductive, and you would be better off not underlining anything. Ideally, there should be more text on a sheet of paper without underlining than underlined. So what to underline and what not to underline? Underline hierarchies. The main sections and topics. And, very important, underline the main ideas. The key ideas. That is, those without which the text would lose its meaning. In fact, this is a good question to ask yourself. If I remove these, does the text make sense? If the answer is yes, don't underline it. Another good question might be, if I remove this, does it radically affect the meaning? If the answer is no, don't underline it. In short, it is a matter of keeping what is necessary and eliminating the chaff. Besides, it is possible that in the subject you are studying, there are other data that are not key to the understanding of the subject, but that, due to the demands of your teachers, you need to memorize for your exams, for example, dates or names. In this case, if you consider those data important to you and you want to highlight them, you can do it, but do it in a way that you do not confuse it with the essential information. And related to this is the next mistake. The third mistake is to underline everything with a single color. This is also a very common mistake. The thing is, if you mark everything in the same color, you can't tell at a glance what kind of information it is. This prevents you from achieving one of the objectives of underlining, which is to organize and structure the information for the eye. If instead, you use different colors, you will be able to identify what kind of information it is at a glance. So, first, set a color for each hierarchy. Title of the topic, subtopic, section, definition or concept. Also set a color for key information. And lastly, if you also consider it necessary to mark them, use other colors for numerical data, dates, names, etc. In short, use as many different colors as different categories of data you need to memorize. This is how you can make underlining useful to move faster through texts, organize information, select and highlight the important information, which, at the end of the day, is what you need to learn. Remember, first get a general idea of the subject matter. Mark hierarchies to identify the main structure. Underline only the most important, key and essential ideas. And use different colors for each type of information. If you found the video useful, let me know in the comments, subscribe, and share it with that friend you need so much.